Greetings to everyone. There was an opportunity to talk to John Kilmer, the founder and the vice president of strategic partnerships of ValiCor US, and Larry Oberfeld, the president of Strategic Notion Incorporation, a business consultant and investor who came to Zhytomyr Polytechnic as a part of the partnership between ValiCor US and Zhytomyr Polytechnic. The head from the Ukrainian side is Oksana Черниш, the director of Scientific and Research Institute of Medical Technologies, Mental Health and Human Intelligence. Our conversation will be devoted to emotional intelligence, its application in crisis situations, and methods of development after emotional trauma. We will also discuss the principles of successful management of large-scale projects and methods of monitoring and control that help achieve results in the corporate environment. With you, Katerina Schmut. Enjoy watching. So first and foremost, I would like to ask you how you personally control your own emotions.
I control my emotions in a variety of ways, through physical, spiritual, and mental disciplines. The first is very much so through physical working out, running. These physical disciplines help me stabilize my emotional velocity, where it can move up in frequency and down. The second is spiritual. It's not meaning religious, but spiritual, one of faith in oneself, not of others or of a higher power, but the faith in my belief that I am on a purpose-driven journey and seeing that vision. The last one is mental. That discipline is the most difficult one. And that's where spiritual and physical disciplines help bring that emotional, mental capacity of discipline in check. That I do through meditation, through motivational speeches, through writing, and through visionary focus, meaning I write down what I see my future as. Many people don't write down what they need. So by writing down what you need and then putting that in a visionary component allows me to mentally discipline myself with the physical, the spiritual, and then the more mental regulations of discipline of meditation and other things.
Okay. The next one is how exactly do you apply emotional intelligence to help manage your own emotions to a person who is in a problem situation?
I'm not perfect. I'm so far from perfect. Larry, my business partner, can say that, somebody who runs emotional intelligence, I miss a lot of cues. I do. I've had my own share of problems where my emotional intelligence was not there. When it comes to understanding and empowering emotional intelligence in my own life, I think it's really just, there are a couple things. It's being open ears and really actively listening, and then being curious on what's going on, because what I found out through a lot of people that we project our own emotions on them, but we forget that there may be some underlining hidden emotions on their side that they're not telling you. I'll give you an example. I love my software developer, but he drives me crazy. He really drives me crazy. And I don't deal with BS. I don't have time for that. So I get very hard on him. And it's interesting because I had a conversation with him one-on-one after some stuff happened, and I found out that there were some really deep things happening on his side. And so it's funny because, again, I'm an emotional intelligence leader, but sometimes I forget to ask my own team members, hey, what's going on? Which I do a lot. And so the power of emotional intelligence is just being aware of what are you feeling, not what you're thinking. We are, a lot of people are logical, that's thinking. We need to be connected to both. There's a feeling where it comes from the heart, and then there's the logic that comes from the brain. And we are so very disconnected from those. The logic is very short term, very transactional, very fast. The feeling is very long term, very gut oriented. And so it's what it requires a lot of people to do now is to touch base with their feelings. How am I feeling? What is this feeling? Like Larry said during an investor, his gut told him that's a feeling. He says, hey, this is right. A lot of people don't listen to that. So it's listening to your body, actually. What is my body saying? Because your body is going to kick up to your mind and say, hey, man, this ain't right. And that's your sixth sense. That can be your gut. So I think it's what has been very beneficial in my emotional intelligence is listening to my body. By listening to your body and your heart, and not all your mind and your logic, you begin to connect with emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence is that connection between your brain and your body. And I say the human and the emotions, where the emotions is really the body and the heart. The human is really the logic and the brain. And the connection is the emotional intelligence, knowing how to connect those two.
Okay, thanks. And what techniques for developing emotional intelligence
Oof.
can be applied to people who have experienced emotional trauma?
Oof. You got to sit with yourself. You just have to sit with yourself. You have to be willing to stop everything, stop moving, don't look at your phone, and sit in a very quiet, maybe sometimes dark room by yourself. Many people run from those feelings. Many people want to move fast and be successful. That doesn't come that way. It comes by looking in the mirror, as I call it, tapping into the shadow of yourself. These are very deep mentally and spiritually techniques that require strong discipline. I know a lot of people who move, go all the time, and they're frantic. They miss things. I used to be the same way because I couldn't sit with myself. And then I started sitting with myself, and it comes. Sometimes it comes in waves. Just like today, I'm dealing with some very heavy personal things. My technique was I had to take a walk. I took a walk towards the water, a very quiet, beautiful place, and I tapped into it. And it was some very tough decisions I had to make to myself. And it's not easy. So you have to be able to sit with the discomfort. And by sitting with the discomfort, you be able to acknowledge what you have to do next.
And as last question, what cases have helped and helping you to improve your strategy in the future?
Good people. Larry drives me crazy. He's he's a big brother that I never had. The success, and I've told this to Larry himself directly, I wouldn't be here without him. So it's having the faith in yourself to know who you are, to expose yourself to risks of the unknown certainties in the future that you cannot see nor control, and having the self awareness of yourself to say, hey, I'm going to give this guy a chance. I'm going to work with him. I believe he's a right team player. It's the people you keep around yourself. If you hang around drug addicts, you're going to be a drug addict. If you hang out with yourself who people are motivated to excel, you will excel and motivate. So it depends on your inner self. Do I know myself? Do I want to know myself? And then from there, when you become more whole, when more enlightened, you start making better decisions because you're using and empowering that emotional intelligence to say, hey, I know what my purpose is. And from there, you make better decisions where I say, I realize the people that I keep around me is very important. The way I act and talk is very important. And by those small little actions, particularly team members, the people you socialize with, and then reading is key. Not just on the phone or scrolling, but reading a book. I got a couple books that I read, every kind of couple weeks. I'm busy, but I still try to put that time in. I do put that time in to read, and it's very empowering to have that physical book. So I think reading and the people you keep around yourself are probably in your communication style. Those three.
From your own experience in managing large-scale projects in the corporate environment, what characteristics do you use to make sure that the project that starts will be successful in the future?
So first, you have to ensure you have the right people around you. You have to put together a team that not only has the expertise, the knowledge, but also that they balance each other, that they can work together, because how the team works together determines the outcome long term. When you bring all these different types of ideas, you have to have diversity of thought. That's a very key aspect, because you can't be in a bubble where everyone agrees with one thing, because you're missing something. There's always an unknown. So when you have the diversity of thought, then you can see things from different angles, different approaches. And while there could be much more noise and it might take a little bit longer to get to the decision, you look at things from all different angles and you can approach things from different angles and you can find a more efficient, quicker way to approach something, or just a smarter way of looking at something, or just a new way of looking at things that ultimately drives success because you anticipated issues that could arise later on in the project.
Okay. What methods are used to monitor and control a project at all stages for its implementation?
So at each stage, you should have benchmarks and metrics that you benchmark yourself against. Did I achieve X, Y, and Z goals within the first quarter? Then in the second quarter, there's new metrics, because each stage should build and grow upon each other. What it really comes down to is the transparency and the communication and transparency, or transparency and communication, I should say, where if a problem arises, say something earlier than later. Because if you can say it earlier, you can address it much earlier and it won't become such a big problem in the future.